Welcome, seekers of greatness. Today we embark on a journey of self-discovery and transformation, a journey fueled by the power of habits that have the potential to propel you beyond the limits of your imagination. In a world brimming with possibilities, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the vastness of our dreams and aspirations. But what if I told you that there are specific habits you can cultivate to not only reach, but surpass your wildest dreams? Imagine a life where every action you take, every decision you make, leads you closer to your most audacious goals. A life where success is not just a distant dream, but a tangible reality. A reality that exceeds even your own expectations. That, my friends, is the promise of the habits we'll explore today. From the moment you wake up to the final moments before you drift off to sleep, these habits will serve as your guiding lights, illuminating the path to greatness. They will empower you to break free from the shackles of mediocrity and embrace the extraordinary potential that lies within you. As we journey together, I invite you to open your mind and heart to the infinite possibilities that await. Let go of any doubts or limitations that have held you back in the past, and dare to imagine a future where success knows no bounds. So, are you ready to embark on this transformative journey? Are you ready to discover the habits that will take you beyond what you ever imagined possible? If so, let's dive in and unlock the secrets to a life of unparalleled success, fulfillment, and joy. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you have. The more control you have, the greater freedom you have. You're about to hear a speech that will change your life by Tracy. Relax, take notes, and watch this entire video so you don't miss anything that could have a big impact on your life. In life, you decide to be responsible or irresponsible. Being irresponsible, the top 10% of people, is being fully responsible. These are leaders, and you can be a leader without followers. You can be a leader without a team. A leader is a person who behaves like a leader, and a leader is someone who assumes total responsibility. Total responsibility. The more responsibility you accept, the more control you feel you have over your life. Not just physical and financial control, but emotional control. You feel like you're in charge. The more control you have, the more freedom you have. If you were to ask people why they want to start their own business, why they want a lot of money, if you ask them again and again, the final question they will always give you is to be free. We all want to be free. We love freedom. No human being has ever said, "I have too much freedom, please take it away." There are politicians who believe that voting members of the public have too much freedom and believe they have been elected to take away that freedom through taxes and regulations. But there is never a person who says, "I have too much freedom, please tax my income, please regulate and limit my behavior so that I do things you believe are good for me." When you put it that way, nobody would ever say that, and yet this is one of the great dilemmas of the day. So the more responsibility you accept, the more control you have, and the more freedom you have, the more positive emotions you have. There is a direct one-to-one link between responsibility and control, freedom and positive emotions. At the lower end of the spectrum, irresponsibility leads to a lack of control, feeling out of control, a lack of freedom. You feel controlled by other people, and you have negative emotions. I spent hours and several years of my youth studying the concept of negative emotions. This is one of the most important work ever done, based on people from all over the world, because the only thing standing between you and a fabulous life are negative emotions, fear, and negative emotions. If you don't have negative emotions, since nature abhors a vacuum, what will your mind be filled with? If you don't have negative emotions, the mind doesn't stay empty. What will fill it? It will be filled with positive emotions, love, happiness, joy, and exhilaration. The big business of life is to eliminate negative emotions. And eliminating negative emotions is the key to unlocking the power of your subconscious and superconscious mind. How do we do it? Well, I found out how, and it works like a dam. We say here the trick of negative emotions. Now, this is my creation, the tree of negative emotions. It's something I designed. And in the tree of negative emotions, what you have here, and then you have the trunk, and then you have the root system. Here's the ground. In the tree of negative emotions, the fruits of the tree of negative emotions grow, which are anger, fear, doubt, and then there's envy, the green-eyed monster. Then there's envy. You know, envy is the main motivating force behind most modern politics. Those who have less envy, those who have more, and vote for people who promise to take it away. And then there's its twin sister, resentment. Oh, envy and resentment go hand in hand, arm in arm. And then there's self-doubt, and there are all kinds of fears, and there are about 54 negative emotions, and these are like trees. These are like fruits on the trees. So how do you get rid of negative emotions? Well, we say the first thing you do is you starve the roots to death, because if you starve the root system, the tree will wither and die. So there are two essential factors that maintain negative emotions, that create them and keep them alive. Justification. It's when you say, I'm entitled to this negative emotion because of what this person did, and what this person said, and what this person told me. At that time, I'm justified. And what we do is we continually talk, we have an ongoing conversation, thinking of all the reasons we're justified in being angry, upset, and negative about this person. All we think is, I'm entitled to this emotion. The other factor that creates negative emotions is identification. Identification is taking things personally. If we can't take things personally, then what happens is we can't attach any negativity to them. If it's not personal, for example, if someone robbed a store in Bangladesh 2 weeks ago and took all the money from poor people, we don't suffer any negative emotion because we don't take it personally. We look at unfortunate experiences that happen in the world, earthquakes and tsunamis and so on, but we don't get excited about them because they don't really affect us. How many people went to bed writhing, crying over the Japanese tsunami and the closing of the nuclear reactor? We read about it in the newspaper and then just watched something else on TV. Went to the comic section or sports. For us, there's no emotion associated with it because we don't take it personally. And so if you stop justifying and creating reasons why you're entitled to the negative emotion and stop identifying with your negative emotions, they begin to wither and die. How you starve the fruits of the tree of negative emotions, you become non-judgmental. If you can become non-judgmental, in that case, you simply refuse to judge. You simply refuse, as they say, that prejudice is the bias. And so what you do is you don't judge. In the Bible, which is a book that gives many insights into peace of mind, it says, "Do not judge lest you be judged, for with the judgment you use, you will be judged also." In other words, if you judge other people, they will judge you. So what you do is you don't judge, and if you don't take a side or an opinion, you have no associated emotion. You completely disconnect the emotion. So when you hear something, don't get upset or angry about it. Just don't judge. You say, well, let's look at all the facts. I have worked with great leaders whose companies face tremendous crises, and in all cases they remain as calm as water. They are calm and passive and don't judge. They say, well, let's see exactly what happened. And so they ask questions. I wrote a book about this it was about to be called Crisis Moment. They called it Crisis Point. But what it basically says is that it teaches people to stop the clock, stay calm, get the facts, and not judge. They don't get angry, they don't get upset, they don't get rattled, they stay calm. And the measure of how successful you are as a person is how calm you can remain when there's turbulence in the world around you. Instead of getting stuck right away, the second is identification. Don't take things personally, and so we say here we become non-judgmental. And secondly, we disidentify. Bonding is non-bonding. It is only when we bond to an outcome, when we bond to money, when we bond to a relationship or bond to a job, it is only when we bond and get emotionally attached that it can cause us some unhappiness, anger, or resentment, or negativity. That's why it's so important to step back and emotionally detach from it so as not to get upset about it and say, well, it's just like thinking about things that happened in the past. We say, well, things just happen, as simple as that. Things just happen. And you say things just happen, well, this happened. Yes, things happen. You know, the old rhyme with what happens, yes, things happen. And if you can say that, then you stay calm. Now, here's an interesting point. Calmness is what leads to peace of mind. Calmness is also coextensive with self-esteem, confidence, effectiveness, and creativity. When you emotionally engage in anything, all your higher creative mental powers are shut off and you go back to fight or flight. Your limbic system, fear, anger, and so on. As long as you emotionally engage, you can't think clearly. There's a line from Francis Bacon that says, "It makes a man not able to be true to his own ends in any way." In other words, we get so excited about it that the key is to stay calm. That's why they say, take a deep breath, count to 10, stay calm, detach, get the facts, don't get upset, don't get involved. Well, that's how negative emotions are eliminated. You'll find that people who don't have negative emotions are much calmer and more positive than others. However, there's something even better, and that's that the key to getting rid of negative emotions is to cut the trunk of the tree, which is blame. Blame is at the root of 99% of negative emotions. If we remove blame, we cut the tree. And it's almost as if these negative emotions were lights on a Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree is plugged into the wall. If you unplug one light from the Christmas tree from the wall, what happens to all the lights simultaneously? They all go out. And when you stop blaming, all your negative emotions stop. And as long as you're not blaming, your negative emotions stop. You have no negative emotions, and at that moment, your mind begins to fill with positive emotions. So, how do we stop blaming? Well, this is so simple and so powerful that it literally is life-changing for me. I still have to use it every day because your life is full of difficult people and unexpected setbacks. Of course it is. So the only question is not what happens. You can't change that. You can change how you respond, your responsibility. So nothing and no one makes you angry. There's no anger or negativity in a situation by itself. It has no emotion attached, no more than a rock. Any emotion in a situation is emotion that you put into that situation by the way you interpret it for yourself, by the way you justify, identify, or blame. So, by removing blame and negative emotions, remove them using the law of substitution. The law of substitution says, replace the thought of blame with this affirmation, I am responsible. Now, this seems so simple, and yet I still think about it and use it every day. It is impossible to blame and accept responsibility at the same time. One cancels out the other. So it is impossible to be negative and accept responsibility. It is impossible not to feel empowered when you accept responsibility. So say these words, say, I am responsible. Now, I want you to think of any negative experience in your life that still causes you anger, sadness, or unhappiness, and simply say instead, I am responsible. Just think to yourself, I am responsible, I am responsible. Now, what I learned that had a great impact on my mind is that rationalize your mind to think of all kinds of reasons why we are entitled to our negative emotions. So instead of using our mind against ourselves by committing emotional harakiri, where you cut your stomach and stab yourself and make yourself unhappy and miserable, you use your mind to eliminate the expression of negative emotions. So if you think of any negative experience in your life, you simply say, wait a minute, I am responsible. I am responsible. And then you think, in what way am I responsible? How am I responsible? If you're dealing with a negative situation that you've had for a long time, the first time I recommend it is very difficult because you've fallen in love with your negativity and don't want it taken away from you. People don't want to give up their negativity, so you'll have to play with this idea and say, wait a minute, let's say you had a horrible relationship and the person treated you very, very badly and it ended in a terrible divorce and emotional stress. What you do is say, wait a minute, I am responsible, I am responsible. Now, how and in what way could I be responsible? Well, I got into the situation. I married the person when it was clear it wasn't going to work out. I stayed in the situation. In fact, even before I got married, I knew this wasn't good. But I did it anyway because my mother expected me to, and we had already sent out the invitations. And I could have backed out. 38% of people who get married say that if it weren't for all the people coming, they would have changed their minds already. I had this great experience. I was taking a taxi to the airport, and I told the driver, please take me to the airport. He said, where do you need to go? I said, well, I'm going to Vancouver. He said, it's nice to pick up someone who knows where they're going. And I said, really? Last night I had a passenger who was very interesting. This woman called me to come to her house and pick her up, but I was supposed to go through the back alley and wait, and the passenger would come out. So I drove, found the address, and there were cars up and down on both sides of the street, lights on, a big party in full swing, and people everywhere having fun. So I said, I'm going to go around the block, and he stopped in the alley and waited. About 5 or 10 minutes later, this woman came running out with her suitcases to the car and said, take me to the airport. He said, great. He started heading to the airport and asked, where are you going? She said, the first plane out in any direction, I don't care. He said, really? He said, I've never had that before. He said, see all those people back there? He said, that was my wedding reception. I got married this afternoon and I knew I shouldn't marry that guy. And when I got home and I was taking off my clothes, changing after the wedding, I sat in my room and thought, my God, what a mistake I've made. This is really stupid. He said, I'm getting out of here before it goes any further. He said, take me to the airport. I'll take the first plane in any direction. And so he did. And yet 38% of people who get married think this way. This is according to marriage counselors. By the way, they count couples. They find that around 38% on average, based on a study of 100,000 counseled couples, decide not to get married. My point is this: if you had a bad business deal, who got you into it? You did it to yourself. You made the decision. You made the choice yourself. You had some doubts, but you went ahead or didn't get enough information. In other words, use this brilliant mind of yours to think of all the reasons why you are responsible. And when you do that, you'll find that negativity begins to disappear, and you stop being negative about the other person. You say, I'm an adult, I made some bad decisions. Now that was really dumb. And then you start telling yourself, that was a dumb decision. I was really stupid to do that. If I had researched more, or had thought about it, or had listened to my intuition, and so on. Now you're using your mind to keep yourself calm, positive, and clear. And you keep saying, hey, I am responsible. I am responsible. And as you say, I am responsible, you pull the plug of the negative emotions tree and all your negative emotions stop. This applies, by the way, to a negative situation in your life that still makes you angry when you think about it. If you apply this, within a few days, every time that memory arises, you'll cancel it by saying, wait a minute, I am responsible. In a few days, it will stop arising and eventually fade away and vanish. And you'll say, you know, I haven't thought about that situation for 2 or 3 weeks. And when it comes up, you just brush it off. Like in the game of Wakamo, you just brush it off and you say, wait a minute, I am responsible. And it stops again. And soon it disappears forever. And as we come to the end of our journey, let us pause to reflect on the profound impact of the habits we've explored today. From the moment we set out, we embarked on a quest to uncover the keys to unlocking our fullest potential, to go beyond what we ever dared to imagine. Now, armed with the knowledge and wisdom gained along the way, we stand on the precipice of greatness, ready to seize the opportunities that await us. The habits we've uncovered are not mere routines, but powerful tools that have the potential to transform our lives in ways we never thought possible. As we bid farewell to this journey, let us carry with us the unwavering belief that we are capable of achieving greatness. Let us embrace these habits with open arms, knowing that they will guide us towards a future filled with success, fulfillment, and joy. But our journey does not end here. It is merely the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with endless possibilities and boundless opportunities. So as we part ways, I urge you to continue cultivating these habits with diligence and determination. May they serve as beacons of light in the darkest of times, guiding you towards your dreams with unwavering certainty. And may you always remember that the power to go beyond what you imagined lies within you. Thank you for joining me on this extraordinary journey. May your path be filled with abundance, joy, and endless success as you continue to pursue your dreams with passion and purpose.